Yo lo conocí en una Plasencia, en un show.
Desde que me retiré de college hace 7 años, soy lingüista del FBI. Lo que pasa es que no me gusta decir esto, pues
Sí,
se pone, ¡ay! Aunque I can say it.
Yeah, it's no
Dale,
big
dile
deal.
lo de Tessa.
Mi nieto.
This guy's usually behind the camera.
No, but not on this side. Wait, let me take a sign.
I know, right? I was like, okay, no. I was the first, actually.
Oye, ¿cómo está tu caderita?
I have that on. I have it on video.
¿Cuánto tiempo tenemos? Como 2 meses.
El aire, el que quiera conmigo, como frío, por
¿Puedo leer todo?
No, en eso estoy. Yo también. Ay, sí,
No, yo sé.
tengo una rodilla llamada y tenía que estar yendo al médico. Y tengo un trabajo part-time.
Mira, ¿a qué le pagamos?
Pregúntale a Cari que ya.
Acá,
¿Las horas que?
ay, I thank you so much. Lo que pasa es que yo no pasé tanto tiempo porque yo me quedé con después mi hermana, me quedé con mi hermana.
Muy bien.
Pero la pecera esa.
Un trauma.
We had a wonderful, it was wonderful.
¿En inglés o español?
English.
It's crazy. It's crazy. ¿Cómo están?
The librarian here at the branch. We have a great presentation coming up, and I will be introducing our featured author in a moment. But first, I'd like to take this opportunity to encourage you to sign up for a library card. If you don't have a library card, it's easy to get one. Visit our customer service desk at the front to sign up. We have a vast collection of books and other materials, including those by our featured author, available with your library card, including ebooks, e-audiobooks, movies, music, and more. Visit our website at mdpls.org to learn more. And one more note, just want to ask everyone if you can please silence your phones for this presentation. Okay, so I'm going to introduce our born in 1948 in Pinar del Rio, Cuba. In 1959, with the arrival of Fidel Castro and communism, thousands of Cuban parents became concerned about the possibility that they would lose legal custody of their children. Patria Potestad. Thus was born the Pedro Pan operation that, under the tutelage of Monsignor Father Brian Walsh, brought 14,048 unaccompanied children to freedom. Lomberto was one of them. This is his story. Please join me in welcoming Lomberto Perez Plasencia.
Do I need to get closer?
That's close.
I guess that's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
But in any case, before I start, I would like to know who from the audience also was a Pedro Pan. So how many? 4? That's good. So you know, some of the things that I write in the book, most likely you identify with, and basically that was the idea. I wanted everybody to know what happened during the trip, not only from Cuba to Miami, but also from Miami to the States that we were assigned, which was Yakima, Washington. We also would like to, no, sorry, 1955 to Before 1959, which was when I was 5 until about 11, and then after 59 to 62, which would be 11 to 14. So I was able to compare how I lived before Castro took over. Obviously, there was poverty, there was corruption, but not the way that the Fidel Castro and his cohort came in saying that it was, they needed everyone needed to be equal. That wasn't really needed. They came in and destroyed the liberties that we had. They destroyed the economy. They turned the whole society upside down. And I was able to go from, originally they put me in a public junior high. And when after a few days, I realized that even though I did not really know how to speak English, I could see that the mathematics, I felt bored. So I went to the social worker and I said, look, there's a problem. I don't really like the school. Can you do something? No, because I had finished 7th grade in Cuba. And then because I did not speak English, some of you probably had the same situation, they put me in 7th grade. And I said, no, I think I know more than those that are in 7th grade. So she found me a Catholic high school. And they put me in 9th. So they jumped from 7 to 9, which was good. I didn't have to do 8. And I enjoyed my 4 years in high school were tremendous. Then I also, in the book, I explained the fact that we lived in the 3 different American families during 4 years. Why did that happen? Because the first one that we lived with, they were called the Chutites. In the book, I call them the Chafers, because that's the only family that I say something a little bit negative about. For example, I'll give you an idea. There were 2. One was from Belgium, the other was from Hungary. And they were kind of old. 2 of them looked old. You were 14. My younger brother was 9. My sister was 16. And the first family, they looked old. They were in the 60s. She had white hair, and she was like 6 foot tall, and the husband was like 5 foot. And she's the one that took care of the business. But in any case, they had different ways of doing things. One of them was that I told them I needed a new pair of tennis shoes. So they said, okay, tomorrow we'll go get you some new clothes and the tennis shoes. We went to a Salvation Army store. And when we get there, I tell her, look, what's happening to my tennis shoes? And the husband said, don't worry about it. I'll fix it. I'll cut the top of the tennis shoes. You'll be okay. So he didn't want to buy me, not even useful. He just said, we'll cut the top of the tennis shoes. But anyway, there are other things that were a little bit annoying, so they changed it to another family called the Jameson, which was really good. And we were there for like 2 years. There, the problem was that Teresita, my older sister, when she was 18, she decided to come back to Miami. And the Jameson allowed her to do it without getting permission from Catholic Charities. So to punish them, they took us out of there and they put us in another family called the Moroses, and we were there for 2 years. But the last 2 families were really, they made us feel like we were part of their family. We came down to Miami and we reunited. So the book basically covers, like I said, from 1955 to 1966. And to make it a little bit more fun, I wrote things about that happened to people that were amusing. And I think if you read it, some of you already have read it and told me that you enjoy some of the stories. To give you an idea of what the book is about, Kat is going to be reading a segment that she likes. And if you listen to it, then after that we're going to have a nephew, Alejandro Travieso, who's not here today, but I have a video of him doing a rendition of another section of the book, but he doesn't think it's he's an actor, so he's a little more dramatic than I wrote it, but it's kind of funny. and then later I want to show you a video that we did. Vivi Maduro helped me a lot with it to explain how she works for Telemundo. She's going to the Olympics to be what is your title there? Producer?
Yes.
For the Telemundo. So she's going to be watching all the Olympics up close. In any case, at the end I want to show you another video that explains how the QRs work. You know what the QR is, right? All right, so can sit down.
Beautiful faces. Thank you. Thank you for those that we know and those that we will meet today, that are here today. Thank you for being here. This book has been very special to my husband. I know he hasn't said anything, but he has Parkinson, and he did it. He wrote the book in 1 year. He really wrote it in 6 months. He got the whole thing, but by the time it was proofread, read again, and reread, and published, it was a year. And we're very proud of him. I'm one of those. Okay, this is an excerpt from chapter 11, Meet the Jamesons. And I'm reading from page 95. Cold and more cold. I thought it got cold in Cuba when the temperature dropped to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I didn't know what cold was until winter arrived in Yakima, Washington. In case you don't know it, the state of Washington shares a border with Canada. I experienced real cold when I went to school in the winter. I dressed in layers as much as I could with earmuffs, thermal underwears, a heavy jacket, gloves, and a scarf. And still my hands and feet froze. The problem was the defrosting. I arrived at school, my hands and feet, ears were numb. As my body warmed up, I felt a piercing pain, my toes and fingers, as if someone was hammering nails. We lived through our first snowstorm. Yes, we knew it was coming. Everyone braced for it. They said it was not a common occurrence, but it could cause some damage. So we waited, thinking that it might be like a hurricane without a name. Instead of rain, we would get snow. Boy, and did we get snow, about 24 inches, up to our waist. Then came the fun. As soon as it was safe, everyone poured out of their houses and had fierce snow fights, made snowmen, snow angels. In the hilly parts of Yakima, everyone enjoyed sledding. It was a sight to see. I thought of my friends in Cuba and how I would tell them that if they ever had a chance to be in a snowstorm and have fun, they should do it. Sports galore. This is another section. I needed to get a job to have some spending money during my high school years. So I heard that the Yakima Braves, a Class A professional baseball team in the stadium, which was within walking distance of the Jameson, during one was carry a tray of goodies. Easy, right? All you had to say was, and shout, peanuts, popcorn, Coke, Pepsi. Wow. You had to stretch out the vowels and put a melody to it. This was good for me because I could hide the Cuban accent and nobody would know that I couldn't speak well English, perfect English, he says. I found a way to enjoy this job by going to the game 2 hours earlier. When the players had batting practice, since the stadium was empty, I could get really close to them. And since the players, I skipped a section. Since the stadium was empty, I could get really close to the players and speak with them. Several of the players were Dominican and only spoke Spanish. They were delighted that they could speak with someone in Spanish. I became friends with them, and sometimes they would let me field some balls. I was thrilled, particularly whenever one of them was called up to the majors. I always say that word wrong. The sale of the goodies ended in the 7th inning, and it gave me time to enjoy the last 2 innings of more from a great seat. I was watching professional quality baseball for free. The next section that I chose in this chapter is the one sport that I did play and enjoyed was baseball. In my sophomore year in 1963, I joined the YMCA team because I did not make the Yakima Central Catholic High School team. We were pretty good. In fact, we won our division and went on to the final championship game. The game was played at Yakima Braves Stadium. This time, I was not selling peanuts or popcorn. I was playing. The game was tight. From the beginning, we would go up 1 run and they would tie it until the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs, man on first. We were losing by 1 run. I had not played, but was enjoying the game from the dugout. All of a sudden, I heard, "Lomberto, you're on." Holy moly, I had not played. Whoa, holy moly, what do? I thought. "Bunt," he said.
The coach.
The coach, yes, he said, "Bunt." That was something that I did really well. I got up, took a bat, walked to the home plate. I was in a daze. People were shouting and applauding. I got in position. I let the first ball go by as per the coach signal. You know, they signal. The next signal was, "Do it." The pitcher threw a fastball. I turned my body and presented the bat. The bat hit the ball towards third and stopped. I ran like a madman. I was pretty fast. The man on first went to second, and I made it to first. The next batter got a hit. The man on second went to third, and I went to second. The next batter hit a double. The man on third tied the game. I ran like somebody was chasing me, and I scored the winning run. The place went wild. Everyone came and congratulated me. I felt like a hero, and for about 5 minutes, I felt like a hero. Then I walked home alone to the Jamesons. The memory remained forever. I had no one there to share my excitement on that day. So that was a good thing, and it was sad because he had no one there to witness that he made the winning run. It was a pleasure. And there was a lot of real good times. Okay, Alejandro's grandson, Lisette, and he is going into 9th grade next year. He's an 8th grader, and he's very dramatic. So we thought it would be nice to hear from a child's perspective. So, and this is his interpretation and how he reads it, how he interprets what he's reading.
Hello, a horse named Lucille. I grew up in the Arizona South School. I was there from ages 5 all the way up until 14. At first, it was a really small community. As a matter of fact, it was just a couple houses. But we watched it grow into a huge place. But at first, there's so much unsold land and places to be renovated, you could see horses and cows roaming around. Of course, they were owned by people, but it looked like you were living on a big farm. I developed a friendship with 3 kids my age, Leo, Tony, and Alfredito, who all had horses. I saw how much they enjoyed riding their horses after school, so I decided to start talking to my parents. I had no idea how to get one, but to my surprise, on a full day, in 1957, I got home and you know what was waiting there? A horse. It was beautiful. It had a camel coat, and in the middle of its face, it had a white bird. It looked like a star. And I decided on the best name, Lucero. Of course, I had to ask my dad, how much did you pay for Lucero? Nothing. What? How could that be? I asked. It turned out my father had made a deal with the horse dealer. He gave the horse dealer my old bicycle. He didn't tell me about giving away my bicycle, but since I was pretty young when I got it, it had outgrown me, so I was much happier than I hoped. I must have been 9 or 10 at the time that I got this, the Lone Ranger's beautiful white horse. When I was riding, I felt like I was on top of the world. I was like Lone Ranger fighting crimes and riding with my horse. I rode Lucero Pelo, which means without a saddle, because we couldn't afford a saddle. My friend Leo, he had a much nicer horse than mine. It came from a much more prestigious breed. You could tell because it was smaller, but more muscular, and a lot quicker than Lucero. I dreamed of having a horse like that even, but eventually I decided I was going to resign myself to enjoy riding Lucero. The one place that I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart enjoyed doing was racing. Racing I did with all 3 of my friends. Since we lived on a more underdeveloped part of town, there was a road. It was unfinished. So me and my friends, whenever we were bored, decided we were going to line up our horses and we were going to race from start to finish. Usually we went pretty slow at the beginning, but as time moved on, we'd pick up the pace. Sadly, Leo would usually end up winning. It was like our own version of the Kentucky Derby. I began to notice, however, that Lucero disliked socializing with other horses. Whenever any of the horses got too close to them, perk his ears back, and sometimes he even kick them. Thus, I realized that it would occur during races as well. But I used that. Every time we started a race, I positioned myself right in the middle. Sure, at the beginning of the race, we fell a bit behind, but once we started picking up the pace, we started picking them left and right. And much to the chagrin of the
power and was the dictatorship. His parents made the difficult and desperate decision to send him 3 minor children to the US through an underground organization created by the Catholic Church to help children flee Cuba to safety. In Cuba airport, children were stripped from head to toe, items were taken away, his parking pen being one of them, and the children were treated like paddleboard. Once they boarded the plane and made it to Miami, the news settled in, not knowing what lay ahead.
When our grandfather immigrated to the United States from Cuba, he was 13 years old.
The first place he arrived was right where I'm at the Cumbre camping tent.
Even though we didn't stay near Alacacumba, this was his first real encounter with the United States.
This is because this was where some of the children were dropped off and where many of them stayed.
Our grandfather stayed in Florida Civic, where he was always talked about Monte about his US.
I stayed in the Florida City camp for 4 months before he and his brother were shipped off to Yakima housing. They were adaptive and resilient, and they made the United States family. We could not be prouder of the roots that brought us to here.
The sound was a little bit garbled because there was a lot of background noise. I tried to clean it up and
One of the things
Our abuelito Humberto and his family had a serene tropical life growing.
the thing is that they were supposed to be here, but my baby sister decided to invite them for a long weekend in New York. Girls' weekend. Girls' weekend. So guess what? He was sad. I decided we gotta solve this. So that's why we put the clip, because they could not be here. So today they can and our daughters could not be here because, of course, it was girls only. So the one that's here, the one that's here is my baby, our one and only baby boy. Our baby boy, AJ.
Get some baseballs on me.
before we continue, I want to say I noticed somebody that was the reason that we're here today, and that person is Vito Rizzo, right here behind Israel. Bill Rizzo used to be the marketing director of the,
Assistant director of the library system,
for how many years?
22 years.
Okay, and when I wrote the book, I said, I got to start going, because I met Bill back in 1970, 71 at another agency. We became co-workers, and I saw his young wife, you were like 19 or 18, one of my first cars,
That's right.
a Mustang, which
Yes.
when I wrote it, I put the wrong color, you were pretty pissed.
Yes. I was.
Well, you took it anyway. Anyway, but thank you, Bill, for putting me in contact with the assistants to do this. And thank you, everybody. I can see a lot of people that I know still buying cars. Some people are still buying cars. But I know most of you. I really appreciate the fact that you came. I mean, I'm overwhelmed by the support. Now we're going to be showing a small video about the benefits of the QRs. How do you take advantage of the QRs in any book? Hi, my name is Humberto Perez Pacencia, author of The Parker-Pen Incident. In my new book, I decided to use QR codes to enhance the reader's experience as they dive into my story. The QR codes are so easy to use. Just open your phone's camera and hold it up to the QR code as if you were going to take a picture. You will. Oh, Q&A? Okay. Q&A. If anybody has a question? If I have the answer, I give it to you. If I don't, no question.
I have.
Okay.
So I thought Diana said your parents made a desperate decision. I'm thinking, I don't know what would have done. What would you have done?
I don't know.
Would you send your kids over?
Probably not.
Probably not.
No.
That's a very difficult.
It takes a lot of guts.
Because I would send mine.
I know.
That took a lot of courage.
Yeah. Eloisa, you had some experience on this. What do you think about that?
You mean on what he's mentioning?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have children,
Okay.
but it seems to me that if my parents made the decision to send me away alone, it was for a very serious reason. So if I had to be in the same situation, I may do the same thing they did.
But it's a different one. I mean, that's-
Me too, and I have children, and I'm a Pedro Pan, and I would do the same. And I'm a Pedro Pan, and I have children, and I would do it.
Any other questions?
So my parents had to make that decision. My parents sent me here when I was 8. And I always, when I had my daughter, I remember when she was 8, I said to myself, would I have done the same thing? Definitely, I think that was the best. I've always been so proud of my parents. And I couldn't thank them enough, because them making that decision changed not only my life, but the life of everyone in my family. Because I was the first one to come, because we had the opportunity through the Pedro Pan experience. But I know that you asked that question, how you would make that decision. You would wait it out, and it's to this day, I thank my parents on a daily basis, and they're both gone now, for making such a tough and wise decision.
In my case, my father and mother, they were split. My mother wanted to do it, my father said no.
Yes.
So it was like, I think my mother won.
No, she did. No, she did. Right now, we're gonna have Lometo signing books. I know some of you have the books already from before. He's gonna be sitting here. And yes, we have pastries back here and water. So you're welcome to have it. There are plates, napkins, and while he signs. If you have any questions that you want privately, he'll be here too. You can ask him. But I'm very proud of him, because it took a lot for him to do this. A lot of work, a lot of hours, lots of nights of no sleep, because he was so into it. And he's very proud.
And we're proud of him.
I'd like to recognize some additional authors that are here in this meeting. Gladys, say a little bit about your new book.
Well, my new book has a little bit about what you just mentioned. My parents also sent me out of Cuba, and the answer is they were desperate. They were so afraid for anything to happen. I think all the parents that take that decision is that they're so afraid. They were so afraid of anything happening to us. It's like in that, in the war that we saw a parent throwing a son over the fence. I don't know if you have seen that. They're desperate. My mother had been through the Spanish Civil War, and that's also in the book. My book is about 3 generations. It started with the Spanish Civil War, and then and the multiple exiles of my grandparents and my parents. But then they took us to Jamaica, and we were there in a boarding school, and we close into that. But it was out of my mother. She lived through in Spain. They took the kids from the school and they took them to another countries. And the ones that they sent to Russia, the parents never saw them again. The ones that were to other countries, yeah. But so my mother was afraid of that. That's why they took us to. And I'm sure that's the same reason Pedro Pan and all these.
The name of your book?
It's called Empowered by the Dream, because I think all these people, what they had, all of our parents had a dream for us. They wanted, and what gave them the strength to do this is that dream. So, thank you. And I want to, I think Humberto's book is amazing. Thank you for writing this book about this experience. He has done a great job at describing the good, the bad, and the so ugly, not so ugly. He's very delicate with what the good experiences and the bad experiences. And he's writing another book, right?
I'm gonna start.
He hasn't started.
It's just getting warmed up.
Started today.
No, we're
The helicopter. Oh, yeah, that's what he wanted, a helicopter. That's an inside joke. But I'll tell you very briefly. We were in Iceland, and this was
on a cruise.
Yeah, we got to Iceland, and they lifted him up, and they took him, and I couldn't go because they could not put the helicopter down. It was too windy. So he was there in Refuge until my youngest daughter,